The Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians is pleased to bring you training on a variety of assistive technologies. Please like and subscribe.
Hello, today is Tuesday, June 9th, and we are having our third Android session for our TTT today with Glenn Sepp, and he is going to talk about mail and using the Files app. So anytime you're ready, Glenn, take it away.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is where you are. It's Glenn back for a third go around. I guess that's a good sign. As I've done on other presentations, I'm going to give a 30-second introduction as to what Android is, just because it impacts the way that training is done and what you can expect to see when you go and try some of these exercises or look through apps yourself. So Android is an open source operating system. It was originally created and is kind of shepherded by Google, but other handset manufacturers such as Samsung, Motorola, Sony, etc., branch off their own versions of Android. Now, this is great because it gives the consumer lots of choice, but it throws a wrench in training because dependent on what handset you have from the manufacturer, things might behave a little bit differently than what we'll be going over today. So today we are going to be going over two main functions, mail using the standard Gmail app that ships with Google. We're going to, and then afterward, we're also going to go and look into how you can go and look through the files that are on your phone and get control as to where files are put and just understand how to access files on your phone. All right. The experiences that we're going to be going through today, of course, are using the latest version of the Google version of Android and using the screen reader called TalkBack. TalkBack 17 is the current version that I'm running. So let's get into it. Gmail or email. Email on Android. There are many third-party apps that can be used, and many of them are accessible. And if you talk to experienced Android users, some people prefer some of the third-party apps than the Gmail app. But we're going to use the Gmail app just because it's the one that ships with standard Android. So Gmail is a full-fledged email client. You can have multiple accounts assigned to it. You can file emails under different folders. We'll get into it a little bit later, but Google calls a folder basically a label. So instead of creating a file structure that you might have seen in Outlook where emails are physically moved into separate folders, emails get tagged with what they call labels. And these are basically the same thing as folders, it's just a different approach. So that if I say, I just want to look at my travel labels, it's basically the same as looking through a folder that stores all my travel emails. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do before we get into the client proper, we're going to go through how to add an account to Gmail. So this isn't done necessarily through the Gmail app. What we want to do is to go into settings.
Home screen 1 of 2. Home.
The system settings.
Choose Harley Cloudy folder book settings. Demo.
Hang on, I was in settings, so I'm just backing out here.
Minimize distractions and take control. Do not bedtime from 23:55 to 7:55. Settings. Glenn Sepke, Google Serve Network and Internet, apps, assistant recent as default apps.
Okay, the next thing we're looking is passwords and accounts. Just let me get
Notifications.
down there.
Notification. Sound and vibrate mode. Display and type. Wallpaper and stop. Storage. Backup or battery. 72% system. Languages. Gesture. About phone. Lens Pixel 9. Security and privacy. Apps. Location. On 31 apps. Passwords. Passkeys and accounts. Suggestions for sign in and autofill.
Passwords, passkeys, and accounts. So we'll click on
Passwords.
there.
Passkeys and accounts. Choose your preferred service to save data for sign in and autofill suggestions. Turn on additional services if you'd like them to provide suggestions too.
Okay, so you can use things like 1Password or Google Password. And then what we're looking for here is a heading that says accounts for, and then the Google that we're looking
Preferred
for.
service. Heading. Microsoft Authenticator. Edit. Additional services. Heading. Google. Google Password off. Drag handle. Share screen with live. Sharing screen, 720. Bluetooth connected. Image. Passwords, passkeys, and accounts. Accounts for Glenn. Heading. Off. Google on off. Switch. Accounts for Glenn. Heading.
Accounts for Glenn. It's a heading.
gsepti@gmail.com. Airbnb.
Okay, so here we start to have all the different accounts here. There's Gmail accounts, there's Airbnb accounts, there's all kinds of things in here. Whatever app you created an account for, it's going to show up in here. Towards the bottom, we're going to find an add account, so just let me go and find that.
gsepti@gmail.com. gsepti2@gmail. gsepti at Glenn. Gsept WhatsApp work account. gsepti add account automatically sync app data. Let add account. gsepti@gmail add account.
Okay, so if this is the first account, you're going to see add account right near the top. If you've added accounts, you have to scroll through them till you get to the add account, and we would click on there.
Add an account.
And
Add an account.
this is the heading on the page that says add an account.
Navigate up button. Unlabeled. Unlabeled. Airbnb. CBC Gem. Disney Services and Experiences. Dropbox. Dropbox.
As you can see, there's all kinds
Exchange.
of accounts that we can add here.
Expedia. Exchange.
Okay, so if you want to add an email account, it's going to be one of several options. An Exchange account, that's if you're using a Microsoft Exchange server. That tends to be for people who are adding a work email ID or a large organization. That's just one of the ways that email can be delivered is through Exchange.
Expedia. Facebook. Google.
Google is what you would click on if you want to add your Gmail account to your Gmail app. It gets a little confusing because Google is not only your Google ID, but it's also your Gmail ID.
Meet. Microsoft 365. Microsoft account. Microsoft Entra. Mobi Systems. OneDrive. Outlook.
Okay, Outlook is another account that you might have through Microsoft. If you need to add an Outlook account, you would click on there. And then we have
Personal IMAP.
Then we have the more generic email accounts that aren't necessarily hooked to the big 3 or 4 manufacturers. This one's called a personal IMAP account. So that's if you had an account, say, with Shaw or I believe Telus would fall into that category also. Things like that. Personal IMAP.
Personal POP3.
And personal POP3. So besides the big Microsoft, the big Google, and Outlook, you have personal IMAP and personal POP3. IMAP is an account that you would use if you tend to want to get emails to sync across multiple devices. And POP3 is the original very simple email type client. So if you're adding an account into the big 3, the Google, the Microsoft, etc., and Outlook and Exchange, it tends behind the scenes to know a lot of the information for you. Now, the information that you would normally have to enter, such as server names and ports and what type of encrypting, which is how that email is passed over the internet, whether it's encrypted, meaning others can't read it, etc. All that would be filled in for you. If you're adding one of the personal IMAP or personal POP3 accounts, you have to go in and sometimes there will be a manual option where you can go in and set all of those values. For instance, it'll prompt you for things like incoming mail server port, and what type of encryption. And I hear you saying, well, how do I know what to enter in all those things? Any email provider should have all that information for you. If you Google, say, Shaw email account IMAP, you'll get a listing that tells you what all of those fields will be: incoming server, outgoing server, ports associated with those servers, and the encryption that's involved. So that's the area where you initially add an account into Gmail. Now, we haven't even opened the actual Gmail app yet. That's done through settings. Okay, any questions on adding the account before we move on? Hearing none. I like that. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so let's, just checking my notes here. The Gmail app. So I'm just going to flip over to that app now by going through my app switcher because I already have it open.
Recent apps. Settings. Zoom. Gmail. Mail. One deleted. Compose button. Open navigation drawer button.
Okay, so now I'm in the email app, and before we actually go in and talk about how to read emails, etc., I want to go through the settings that you may find useful to streamline things in Gmail. So settings in Gmail, there's a button at the top here.
Editing, search in mail, and open navigation drawer button.
Open navigation drawer button. So I'm going to click on that. This is kind of a catch-all to change your views.
Navigation menu.
Okay, so we have navigation menu, and I'm just going to slowly go through here.
All inboxes.
So these first options basically control how you want to look at your emails. So this first one says, if I have multiple email accounts, I want to look at all inboxes in one place. I personally find that confusing. I like to deal with one account's emails and then flip to the next accounts. So I don't usually pick that option. You can think of these as views into the emails that you have set up for your accounts.
Primary 4.
Primary, so that's the inbox for this account that I'm on. I'm actually on a secondary email account that only has 4 messages in it, just because it simplifies things.
Promotions.
Google, by default, will look through your email and categorize things. Promotions are things like advertising that gets sent to you. It will mark them as promotions so that if you only want to look at the emails that are promotions, you could come in here and click on promotions.
Social.
Social, that's things like messages from WhatsApp and all those social type categories. I'm not involved in a whole lot of that. Facebook, emails, things like that would get slotted into social.
Updates.
Updates, that's if you're in a string of emails and Google considers that this is an update to a previous email, it'll put it in that category. We will talk about these categories in a minute, because if you don't like the idea of Google deciding where these emails are going to go and you want to do it, you can do that, and I'll show you where to set that. So let's just keep going down here till we find the settings, which is what we want to go into.
All labels.
All labels.
Start. Snoozed. Important. Purchases. Sent. Scheduled. Outbox. Drafts. All mail 34. Spam. Trash. Manage subscriptions new. Create label. Google Apps. Calendar. Contacts.
We will get there.
Settings.
There we are. Okay, so as you heard as I went through there, they're really almost like folder names that you would see in Outlook or anywhere else. Trash, Outbox, Sent, things like that. And then there was a few with them for all labels or create a new label. So create a new label is just like creating a new folder where you want to save particular emails to. For instance, I use it if I'm going on vacation. I create a new label called Vacation 2026 or whatever. All my airplane tickets go in there, the receipts for Airbnbs, etc., just so that I can find them quickly later on. Okay, so we finally got to settings. The whole point of this is to go in and look at the settings that you might want to set to make using Gmail efficient. So let's go into settings by clicking.
Settings. gsepti@gmail.com. gsepti2@gmail.com.
Okay, the first thing you're going to see are the list of accounts that you have defined on the machine. I have 3 accounts here, so I want to look at the settings associated with the account that I'm currently logged into, which is gsepti2, so I'm going to click on that.
gsepti2@gmail.com.
Okay, so we brought up another page.
Selected. Manage your Google account.
So you can go in and manage your Google account almost anywhere where you can access, a Google account. You can go in and manage all of the settings for that Google account. It gets pretty confusing, but it's nice that you can go in there and do that. Now, those are settings that are not necessarily associated with email. They're associated with your account. So it's things like how backups are taken, who the assistant that you want to use, all that kind of stuff is in there.
Inbox.
Okay, so now...
Inbox type. Default inbox.
Okay, so now we're into the settings, and the first heading was inbox. The inbox type is default.
Inbox categories. Primary, promotions, social updates.
Okay, so here's where I talked about how Inbox and Google goes through your emails and slots them into those different categories. Right
Inbox
now,
type. Inbox categories. Primary, promotions, social updates.
this one is set up to break things into those different categories. But if you click on this...
Primary person-to-person conversations and messages that don't appear in other categories. To receive all mail in one inbox, uncheck all others. Inbox categories. Primary, promotions, social updates.
Okay, so it basically says primary is where emails that don't get slotted anywhere else get put to. So it's really like the big inbox.
Promotions, marketing interests, social and political causes, and other promotional emails. Checked. Checkbox.
The next one is promotional, and it gave you a brief description there, and this currently is checked. If you don't want those to be categorized out of your inbox, you can uncheck it, and those messages will just show up in primary along with everything else, which is all of these checkboxes.
Social, messages from social networks, media sharing sites, online dating services. Checked. Checkbox.
I forgot about the online dating services, right?
Updates, automated messages that may not need immediate attention. These can include confirmations, notifications, statements, and reminders. Checked. Checkbox.
And you'll notice that all of these are checked on this account.
Forums, messages from online groups, discussion boards, and mailing lists. Checkbox.
Okay, so one that I didn't talk about was forums. If you belong to email lists, you can categorize those out of your main inbox so that they'll all show up as a separate list of messages.
Starred messages.
Starred messages are
Include
just
in
ones.
primary. Show all starred messages in primary. Checked. Checkbox.
Those are just messages that you consider to be important. You would drop a star on them, and right now those are showing up in the primary inbox.
Navigate up. Button.
And those are the categories. So I'm going to go back to the settings screen.
Manage your Google account. gsepti2@gmail.com. More options. Button. Annotation button. Share audio. Off button. Stop share button.
Oh, hang on. Where am I?
Double tap the hide toolbar button.
Oh, I'm back in Zoom. Hang on.
Recent apps. Settings. Gmail. gsepti2@gmail.com. Selected. Manage your Google account. Inbox. Inbox type. Default inbox. Inbox categories.
So
primary,
inbox-
promotions, social updates.
Sorry, inbox categories is what we were just looking at. Sometimes if Zoom is working, if you back out of a page, Zoom grabs control, so that's what happened there.
Notifications.
Notifications, you can go in and set whether you want to be notified of any new emails that come in. You can customize the sound that's played, etc. I'm not
Notifications. All.
not going to go into all
Inbox
those
notifications.
details.
Manage labels. Notification sounds.
Okay, manage labels. That's where you can go in and add to your group of different labels that you can assign to emails, like I said, to basically sort them into different folders.
Manage notifications. General. Chat. Show the chat tab. Checkbox.
Chat. I've never used chat, but I think it's a function to allow you to chat amongst your email companions. I just use Google messaging for texting instead, so I'm not really sure what that option gives you.
Default reply action. Reply.
You can set a default reply action so that if you hit reply, you can set it to things like reply or reply all. This one is just set to reply.
Mobile signature. Not set.
Mobile signature, if you've ever seen on emails where people will say, this email created by dictation on my smartphone, you could go in there and set that if you wanted.
Conversation view. Group emails with the same topic together. This setting may take some time to apply. Checked. Checkbox.
Okay, conversation view. This groups emails that it considers part of the same conversation into one big long string. This works horribly with TalkBack, so I suggest that you uncheck this so that each message shows up as a separate message. I just find it a lot easier to handle things that way. So I'm going to uncheck this one.
Updating account settings. Mail. Settings. Button. Window Gmail. Gmail. Got it. Button. Annotation button. Settings. Conversation view has been turned off to match your account settings. You can change this in settings.
Okay, so it just gives me a message saying that conversation mode has been turned off, which is what I want.
Settings. Button. Got it. Button. Annotation button. Got it. Button.
Got
Window
it.
Gmail.
It's just
Mail.
a confirmation. Yep, that's what I wanted to do.
Meet. And share audio. Stop. Double tap the high toolbar button.
Oh, we're back in Zoom. Hang
Recent
on.
apps. Settings.
Where were we? Settings? No.
Gmail.
Gmail.
Mail. Annotation button. Share audio. Off button. Stop. Double tap the high tool. Open navigate. Editing. Compose. Button. Signed in as Glenn Sepke G72@gmail.com. Account and set primary. Unread. Promotions. Unread. Zoom. New Zoom sign in detected. New Zoom sign in detected. Hi Glenn Sepke. We noticed a new sign into your Zoom account. G72@gmail.com. Time. May 26, 2026. 10:11 a.m. Location. Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Device.
Shh. Was talking far too much there. Okay, so I think we've gone through the major settings. The one that I think all of you should really consider is turning conversation mode off, just because it works better with TalkBack. Okay. So, any questions about any of that before we actually look at the app? That was a long-winded way, but I thought it was important to show you how to add an account and to adjust the settings before we actually go in and look at the screen. Okay, so when you go into the Gmail app,
Open navigation drawer button.
at the top left-hand corner, you have this Open Navigation Drawer. That's the button that we clicked on to decide what view and to get into settings before.
Search in mail. Edit box.
Search in Mail. This is a very powerful search, which is exactly what you would expect from Google. You can go in there and type in a string of text, and you can tell it, I only want to see where this string of text occurs in the from field, the subject field, the body of the message, any attachments. You can even add date ranges, so it's a quick way to go in and find emails that you know are there somewhere, but you don't want to scroll through hundreds or thousands of emails to find. So keep in mind that search email is there.
Compose button.
There's a compose button for a new email. We're going to go through that in detail a little bit later.
Signed in as Glenn Sepke G72@gmail.com. Account and settings G72@gmail.com.
Okay, and there's my account, gsepke2@gmail.com. Now, the way that I work, if I want to go and I'm done looking at all the emails for gsepke2, I can just click on this and be taken to a screen where I can change to a different account. Let's click on it and see what this looks like.
Account and settings. Dialog. Signed in as gsepke2@gmail.com.
So the first thing it does is tell you who you're signed in as.
Change profile picture. Hi, Glenn Sepke.
And it says, hi, Glenn Sepke, because that's the name associated with that account.
Manage your Google account button.
There's that infamous manage your Google account that you can go and play with the settings that aren't necessarily Gmail related.
Recommended actions. Switch account. Collapse account list.
And then we get to switch account and it says collapse account list.
Google One account. Glenn Sepke. gsepke@gmail.com.
And then I have my different accounts, including my major Gmail account, this one, and then a third email. So this is where I would come and click on one of the other accounts to flip to that. So we'll back out of this.
Mail. Primary. Unread Google. New privacy settings for search services. gsepke2@gmail.com. Hello, Glenn. We're updating our settings to give you even more control over saved history and personalized recommendations across Google search services, including search maps, on June 8th.
Okay, so here's an old message from June 8th, and it's basically from Google when I set up this account. So you heard that it said primary because that's the view for the messages that I'm dealing with. And then on each line, we have basically who it's from, the state, whether it's been read or unread, and then a brief synopsis or the first X number of characters of the email. And the cool thing is you can quickly skim through these emails without opening them and decide if you want to do something with them. So let's just move down to the next one and hear what that message has to say. Listen for the who it's from and then a quick brief description of what the email is.
Promotions.
Okay, so here's promotions. That's one of those categories. So it's slotted this next email as a promotion.
Unread. Zoom. New Zoom sign-in detected. New Zoom sign-in detected. Hi, Glenn to Sepke. We noticed a new sign-in to your Zoom account. gsepke2@gmail.com. Time, May 26, 2026, 10:11 a.m. Location, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Device, WinARM64, Windows if, on May 26th.
Okay, so without opening and looking at all the details of that message, I get a pretty good idea. Now, also within this list of emails, there are actions. So I can swipe down with one finger on this line that is pointing at an email, and here are the actions that I can do.
Delete.
I can delete it directly from here without even opening it, which makes handling a large inbox quite nice.
Archive.
Archive means that I want to save this into a pre-named archive label. This is stuff that you want to generically save without giving it a special name like Vacation 2026. If all you want to do is archive it so that it's not in your inbox anymore, but you've saved a copy of it, you would click on this archive.
Add star.
Add a star. We talked about Google considers anything that you find important, they add a star to it. It's almost like a label on it that makes it stand out from the other emails. So add star was one of the options. And I'm just continuing to flick down with one finger here.
Activate.
And then there's the default action, which is activate. So with activate, it is the same action as tapping on that email. You then go into the details of the email. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is look at how to compose a new email. This gets interesting, but there's a lot of nice shortcuts that they've built in here. So let's go and find that compose button, which, if I remember, was near the top. So I'm going to go to the top of the screen.
Open navigation drawer button. Search in mail. Edit but compose button.
There's a compose button, so I'm going to tap on that.
Gmail. Showing Gboard.
Okay, so it said...
Detected image, a solid gray background. The image is a simple uniform shade of gray with no discernible objects or patterns.
Yeah, so the way TalkBack works, if it's an image, if you wait long enough, it'll automatically give you a description of that image. Now that's a setting that you can turn off, but I leave it on.
Drop down list, gsepke2@gmail.com. From.
Okay, so let's start at the top of this screen. This is the compose screen. Now we were dropped into an edit field, which is nice because that's exactly where you want to be, but I first want to give you an overall feel for the compose window here.
Navigate up button.
So we have a navigate up button,
Attach files button.
a button that allows you to attach files to the email,
Send button.
a send button that you would only click once you've filled everything in and are happy with the email that you've composed.
More options button.
More options. This is interesting. If you click on this, you can do interesting things like schedule the email to be sent at a later time. So if you're at work and you want to fool your boss into thinking that you were burning the midnight oil, just go in there and send that message out at 8 p.m. so he thought you're in the office till 8 p.m. Of course, that's fraudulent. You wouldn't do that, but it's an interesting option to go in and flexibility of emails.
From.
Okay, so now we're into the actual from and to fields, things like that. So it pre-fills the from field, of course.
Drop down list g72@gmail.com.
Okay, and if I wanted to pick a different account that was defined in this Gmail, I could click on this drop-down list and pick it, but I'm going to leave it at gsepke2.
Editing. Edit box for 2.
Okay, and you heard it say editing.
Detected image. A solid gray background. The image is a simple uniform shade of gray with no discernible objects or patterns.
Yeah. So it said editing toolbox. So this is where you can start to type a person's name, and Google, based on the emails that it currently has and your contacts, will bring up a predicted list. So if I start to type
Gmail. L-E. Suggestions. Glenn Sepke. gsepke@gmail.com.
So the first thing it does is bring up a suggestions, and there could be more than one, but the first one that it found was my other email address, gsepke@gmail.com. And the way I found those suggestions is I just flicked to the right, and the first one was there.
How suggestions work button.
And then there's
Suggestions. Glenn Sepke. gsepke@gmail.com.
So instead of continuing to type the entire email address, I can just click on it and it will fill it in.
Editing. Edit box for 2. 2. Add CC. BCC button.
If you want to add CC for carbon copy or BCC for blind carbon copy, you tap on this button and you would go through the same exercise as with the to field to start typing a person's name or email address, and it would give you suggestions and you could pick the suggestion.
Editing. Subject. Edit box.
The next edit box is the subject, so I'm just going to type test.
Kappa E. T. Test.
Subject.
SUBJECT. Web view.
Okay, and then you hear this keyword web view. That means we're now down into the body of the email.
Edit box. Gmail.
And it says edit box.
Detected image. A solid gray background. The image is a simple uniform shade of gray with no discernible objects or patterns.
Now the only reason it keeps giving me a description of that is because I'm pausing to talk with you before starting to type. If I just start typing, it will not interrupt with that description. So I'm just going to, this is the body of the email, so I'm just going to type this as a test.
H. This space. Is space. E. T. Test period.
Okay, and then
Open more keyboard options. Annotation button.
then there's an annotation button. I don't know what that does, so I can't tell you about that. I've never used it. That can be up to you guys to, and for me later on, to discover what that's all about.
Share audio off button.
Oh, you know what? That might be part of the Zoom stuff.
Edit web view. Win editing. Test subject.
Okay.
Edit box. Navigate up button.
So now that we've filled in all the fields,
Attach files button.
if I wanted to attach files, say the notes for this class, I would click on that and it would bring up the filing option to allow me to go find the file that I wanted to attach.
Send button.
There's that send button that we talked about. So we've come full circle and we're going to send this message with the send button.
Send. Undo. Keyboard hidden. Mail.
And where we are,
Compose button. Undo. Send. Undo. Search and compose button. Signed in as Glenn Sepke gsepke2@gmail.com. Account and settings gsepke2@gmail. Unread. Zoom. New Zoom sign-in detected.
Okay,
New Zoom
and
sign-in
where
detected.
we
Hi, Glenn
are,
Tusepke. We noticed a new sign into your Zoom account. G72@gmail.com. Time, May 20.
we are back in our list of emails. Okay, so that's the compose. So the nice thing is the first time that you go into the compose, you're dropped immediately into the edit field for the to field so that you can start to type and get the prediction right away. If you fill in that, you skip past the CC or BCC fields unless you want to add them. Type in the subject, you'll hear web view and then an edit box. That's where you type the message. Now, for things like forward or reply, the screen is very similar. The only thing that it has different is after the body of where you type in the message, there is a button that says include original text so that you can basically include the original text of the message that you're replying or forwarding to. Okay. Any questions about compose there before we move on? Okay. So we've done a lot to write an email message, but now we should probably go in and look at how we read an email message in detail. So let's
Promotions.
go back.
Unread Google. New privacy settings for search services. G72@gmail.com. Hello, Glenn. We're updating our settings to give you even more control over saved history and personalized recommendations across Google search services, including...
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Google. So we're going to go into the details of this message. So I'm just clicking or double tapping on this first message in the list of messages.
New privacy settings for search services. Page. New privacy settings for search services.
Okay, so the top line says basically the subject line, new privacy settings. And now I'm just going to flick to the right and explain the different controls that we run into as we go here.
New privacy settings for search services. Inbox. Add star. Button. Not starred.
So add star. So if it's important, you could choose to add a star to it.
Google. Yesterday. Show contact information for Google. Button.
The show contact information, it would, if you click on that, it'll give you the details of the email address who sent you the email.
To me.
To me, basically, it was sent to this account.
Add emoji reaction.
You can add an emoji reaction. I don't tend to do a whole lot of emojis, but I think as a reply, that's a quick way to do a reply. Just note that you can't add emoji reactions to emails that you receive, say from a mailing group. It has to be a one-to-one type of message.
Reply button.
So here's the reply button. If we want to go in and reply to the message, we would click on that.
More options button.
More options. We'll visit that in a second here.
Web view.
Then you'll hear web view.
Google logo image.
So the first thing is a Google logo.
G72@gmail.com. Link. Hello, Glenn.
And we're into the actual body of the message. At this point, I use the read from current position downwards, almost like a say all in the other screen readers.
Hello, Glenn. We're updating our settings to give you even more control over saved history and personalized recommendations across Google search services, including search, maps, shopping, hotels, flights, translate, and news. You'll see this change in your Google account in the next few days. What's changing? Previously, saving history and personalization were managed by web and app activity. Going forward, we're introduced what's changing.
Okay, so I've interrupted it because we don't really want to listen to that entire thing.
Previously, saving history and personalization were managed. Search services history. End. Personalized recommendations. These settings let you revisit your past searches and decide if you want your experience to be personalized. You can turn these settings on or off at any time. As people increasingly search in new ways, like searching a photo with Lens, search services history now includes media from your interactions, which you can stop saving at any time.
It's basically going paragraph by paragraph.
How this affects your account.
Yeah.
New history of these new settings. Bullet. Auto delete. Your bullet. Your meet. Save at any. You can search. End. Search pages. Copyright 2026 Google LLC. You receive this email to let you know. Reply. Forward.
Okay. So after the body of the message, you have another place where you can reply by clicking on that. Forward.
Add emoji reaction.
Add the emoji reaction as we saw at the top.
Navigate up button.
And we're back up to the navigate up. So You notice that we didn't see a delete. I think the delete's going to show up if we go and click on more options.
Archive button. Delete button.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. There's a delete after archive.
Mark unread button.
You can mark it unread. If you've read it, you can mark it back unread so it shows in your inbox as unread.
More options button.
And let's click on more options.
Pop-up window.
So it says pop-up window. So what that does is it brings up a set of options near the bottom.
Label as.
So label as, this is what I was talking about. If I want to save all the emails regarding a vacation or whatever, I could click on label as and then give it a label that I wanted it to save that set of messages to.
Mark important.
Mark important, that's the same as starring it.
Snooze.
Snooze, I'm not sure what that does. Puts it in a different category so it doesn't show up in your inbox anymore as unread, perhaps.
Add to tasks.
Add to tasks. If you use Google Tasks, I think you can automatically build a task from there.
Mute. Print. Help and feedback.
And there's the print and help and feedback. So let's back out of this other options.
Mail. New privacy settings for search services.
Okay, and I'm back up to the top where it said the subject. So I'm just going to back out of this email.
Compose button.
And we're back on the list of emails.
Unread. Zoom. New Zoom sign-in detected. New Zoom sign-in detected. Hi Glenn to Sepke. We note.
Okay, just let me check my notes here. Okay, so I think we've covered most things. So we learned how to add an account. We learned what settings you might want to look at. And I only highlighted the ones that I have found useful to become more efficient while using Gmail. I'm sure there's lots of other settings that if you went in and played with, you may be able to streamline things even more. So we went into settings, and then we looked at the basic structure of what the page looks like when you open email. We saw that open navigation drawer button at the top, that if you don't like the view of what set of emails you're looking at, you can go in and pick things like all inboxes, or just the sent ones, or just the outbox, things like that. And in that also is where you found the settings button. We went over how to read the details of a message. We went over from the details we could click reply or forward. And those pages that show up are very similar to the compose page, but they will also have that extra button after the body of the message that you type in that allow you to include the original text of the message that you're replying to or forwarding. We also went over the actions that you can do directly from the list of emails, and that included deleting an email, archiving it. Those are the two that I mostly use. And we went over reading in detail on a message. So that's the basics of the Gmail app. Let's open it for questions about the Gmail app before we move on to looking at the files on your phone. Anyone with questions? 249, so we're going to have to go a little bit faster through filing. Okay, I'm just going to open the app. Again, as usual, there's lots of third-party apps that allow you to look at the files on your phone. You can think of this as basically the same as using Windows Explorer on your computer. The default one that we're going to look at is called Files by Google, or usually it's just simplified to Files. Files by Google is used to manage files and folders that are stored on your phone. There's also a section where you can go and manage the files and folders out on your Google Drive, your G Drive, or any other external cloud storage such as Dropbox, etc. All of those can be managed through this same app. Okay, so let's go into the Files app here.
Recent apps. Settings. Zoom. Files by Google Files. Files.
Okay, when you first open Files, Google, like in a lot of things, categorizes things. So the first thing you're going to see is a set of categories.
Show navigation menu. Button. Recent. See all. Button. Button. Show file actions. Screenshot _ 2026. Screen category. Vid documents. 5.6 videos. Images. 337 meg downloads. 390 categories.
Okay, so you're going to see a heading. After you go through, those first few files were just screenshots that I inadvertently took when my phone was in my pocket. Sometimes it takes a screenshot if I hit the wrong combination of buttons. I should go in and delete those. And then we have a heading called categories. And what Google does is it kind of looks and it says, oh, this is an MP3 file, or this is a document. And it will categorize the different documents.
Downloads, 390 megabytes.
Downloads with one folder that you can go in and look at.
Images, 337 megabytes. Videos, 23 megabytes. Audio, 14 meg documents. 5.6 apps, 85 gigabyte. Collections. Show collections actions. Button. Start. Save folder. All storage. Internal storage.
Okay, so after the categorized ones, now the categories, if you clicked, say, on the videos, you would get a list of all the videos on your phone regardless of what folder they were stored in. I find that confusing. I'm more of a physical kind of person, so I like to go in and look at the folders the way that they really are on the phone. So I go down and I click on this folder called internal storage, and that will allow me to see all of the folders and files that are stored on my phone. So I'm going to click on that.
Internal storage. Internal showing in list view. More option selected. Internal storage. More showing in list view button. Switch to grid view.
So there's an option near the top that says showing in list view, switch to grid view. List view is one folder or file per line, whereas grid will space them out across. My brain just works better in a list view. So I tend to use list view because that way I can go from line to line and I know I'm looking at the next folder or file.
More options button. Selected internal storage.
So it says selected internal storage.
Alarms, July 25th, 2024.
So there's a folder called alarms. I want to go down to
show folder actions, button, Android, show folder act, audio, show folder, DC, show folder, documents, show folder act, download, show folder action, movies, July 20th, show folder, download 3 days ago.
Downloads. Okay.
Show folder actions, button.
Now you'll notice beside each of the folder names, there's a button here that shows folder actions. This is going to become key because this button shows up beside each folder and it also shows up beside each file. So we're on the downloads folder right now. Let's click this button to see what actions are available.
Pop-up window. Quick share. Select.
The first one is select. And I'm going to discuss select more in a minute because it requires a little bit further explanation.
Quick share.
Quick share, that allows you to send a link to this folder via a text message, or lately, if another person with a phone is within Bluetooth range of you, you can basically ship them a copy of a folder or a file over Bluetooth, and it'll just do the file transfer as you're sitting there. Similar to, you can even do it to iPhones. It doesn't have to be to another Google phone.
Move to.
Move to just allows you to move files from folders.
Copy to.
Different folders, copy to.
Rename.
Rename, all of these are fairly
Compress.
self-explanatory. Compress, it'll zip it down into a zip folder.
Delete permanently.
Delete permanently, this is different than move to trash. Delete permanently says get rid of it and don't put it in trash. If you pick move to trash, it'll delete it from where it is, but it puts it in the trash and it will hang around in there for 30 days. So you have a way to get it back if you deleted something.
Folder info. Annotation button. Share audio off button. Full delete
Okay,
permanently.
and there's those annotation button again, which is part of Zoom, so I'm going to avoid that. So I'm going to back out of these options.
Internal storage. Movies, July 25th. Show folder actions button. Download 3 days ago.
Okay, so download 3 days ago tells me the last time that something was added to it. And then, as I talked about, beside it are the folder actions button. That's the actions that we looked into. So let's go into this folder so we can look what it looks like when we're looking at individual files. So within the downloads folder,
internal storage. Select Meta AI 3 days ago. Show folder actions button. MetaView, May 8, 2025. Show folder actions button. 2025 tax information sheet 1.pdf 272 kilobytes, March 14, 2025. Show file actions button.
Okay, so each of these files has a show files action. And let's just quickly go into there.
Pop-up window.
Where are we here?
Internal storage. Window internal storage. Internal storage. More options. Selected. Download. Meta AI 3 days. Meta 2020. Table. Mac. Main menu reprint underscore for INTPGS underscore. Macro droid underscore 25 underscore 01. Table toolbox minus 0.4. 2025 tax information sheet 1.pdf 272 kil. Table toolbox minus 0.4.0.z. 2025 tax information sheet 1.pdf 272 kilobytes. March 14, 2025.
We just lost Glenn.
We did. Shall we pause the recording?
Oh, yeah, if I can. Let me try.
We are talking about the select option that shows up. Now, the buttons for file actions or folder actions are fine if you're working on a one-by-one basis. But say you wanted to go through and delete a bunch of files at once, it would be very tedious to go in there and delete one by one by one. So this is why they offer the select action. Once I click the select action, I'm in what's called a select mode. From then on, all of the files and folders are still displayed to me, but the actions buttons go away. So what I can do then is scroll through a list of files, and whenever I click on them, they get added to what's called the selection list. After they're added to the selection list, the voice tells you how many items have been added to the selection list. Near the bottom of that screen are the same actions that you would have got from the actions button, but now these actions will apply to the group of selected items. So I could go through and select 9 or 10 different items and then go to the bottom and click delete. And instead of deleting them one by one, that action of delete will be carried out for each of the selected items. One of the options at the bottom is a cancel button. So if you select 10 files and you decide, oh, I didn't really want to do anything, you can click cancel. So once you clicked either cancel or one of the buttons, the actions will be taken, and then the display comes back with the folders and files with the action buttons back beside them so that you can work on things one by one. And that is it for the Files app. The only thing that I would mention, that if you want to go and look at cloud attached storage that you have to your accounts, don't click on internal storage, click on external storage, and then you'll be given all of the options that you are connected to. For instance, say your OneDrive account or your Google Drive or your G Drive account or Dropbox, things like that. But it's the same interface, you're just working at a different level. Instead of looking at the files on your phone, you're looking at the files out on the cloud. One of the options in the drop downs on the files that we didn't get to is called Open With. So if I have a PDF file or an MP3 file and I click that Actions button, I can click Open With, and then I can pick a particular app to use to consume that file. So that's how you would go and look at a video, listen to an MP3, read a document, things like that. Open With will give you a selection of apps that you can use to open it. Next time, we should probably talk about the most accessible apps to, say, reading Word documents, reading different types of documents, or playing MP3s. I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to stop at this point and open up for any questions. That was a lot of info to gather in 1 hour, so hopefully if you have a follow-up, please grab the notes that can be distributed where all of the stuff that we went through is laid out in point form, so it's a little easier to digest. So, any questions?
It's Pat.
Yes, Pat.
I have to say that the way I was following along with the Android Pixel 7a and the Orbit Reader 20 Plus, and for the most part, as you said, and the pace you went was great, because I could actually find each item that you talked about. In some cases I couldn't, and I'll go back on the recording and I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out. And if not, I'll write you. But this was absolutely quiet. My phone's talking now. But anyway, it was really excellent and easy to follow. Thank you.
I appreciate that feedback, Pat. If anyone has other feedback with suggestions, maybe forward it to Diana or Marcia, who's ever running this show here, and they can pass it on to me. I always give my cover my butt statement that because Android is so flexible, it is difficult to prepare training that satisfies everyone, because everyone could be coming at it with a different manufacturer, different versions of the operating system, etc. But I appreciate that feedback, Pat. Thank you. Anyone else?
I have one. Sorry, go ahead.
The thing is just to be really slow about it. I think that's the key, and really listening to the talk back and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's.
I agree 100%, Pat, that you like talk back because audio is not a fast medium, right? Like we don't hear things as fast as probably people can glance at a screen and see it. So everything that talkback is saying has its importance, and that's for the most part. But that is the one thing that a lot of students they don't listen to what the screen reader is telling them. But you have to remember that these things were designed by people who know that time is of the essence. So almost any utterance that talkback thing makes, it's useful information. And after a while, your ear starts to recognize patterns, and you're not even consciously listening. It's sort of like, oh, yeah, I know what's happening there, so I can move on. So speed does come, but it doesn't come by ignoring it. It comes by listening, recognizing patterns, and then letting your brain ignore it, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I have one question, because I should have stopped you and had you look at it. There somewhere, and I don't remember where, but there was a drop-down menu. And I'm wondering how Android handles something that TalkBack calls a drop-down.
Yeah, okay, I can explain that. I think where you saw that was on the from field when we were composing.
Yes. That's yes. That's
So
exactly
the
where it was.
so the way the drop down menu work is if you click on it, it basically expands, and then if you swipe right, you will see all the options available in that drop down.
Okay, so it's the same thing really as any other type of dialogue or there it's not a pick, it doesn't turn into a picker or anything like that. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, it basically expands out into a dialogue where each of the options is something that you can tap on, and there's going to be a close or a back button that if you don't want to pick one of the options, you can always hit the back button, which we should talk about that at some point too. But I have mine set up that the back button, the home button, and the recent apps button are buttons always along the bottom of the screen. Now, they aren't physical buttons, but they're buttons that you can click on. And of course, there's gestures that you can do to do the back, just like Apple has its scrub gesture. There
Yeah,
is a gesture that you can do for back, for home, for recents, but I personally find it a little easier just to find the buttons.
great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else? Well, then I'll quickly talk about what we'll maybe look at next month. I was planning to look at the browser for doing web pages. I'm personally finding it very frustrating to find the best way because web pages vary so greatly in their intensity and what you can do with them, etc. Personally, I find that if I have any heavy duty or even moderate web browsing to do, I will go do it on a keyboard on a computer as opposed to trying to tame a touchscreen to do it. It sounds like a cop out, and maybe it is, but to me, I always pick the best tool that's going to be the most efficient for the job. So personally, I only use the browser on the phone if I really have to, if I'm out and about and need to. To me, the phone's strengths are the apps that you can get involved with, not necessarily the generic browser. Now, having said that, I am going to continue to try and wrangle that to try and find the best settings to make things the most efficient available, but I'm not promising miracles for next week, if that makes any sense. I always like to set expectations, you know.
That makes perfect sense. Actually, I agree with you until, and of course, I'm using an iPhone instead of Android, but I don't think that makes any difference. But over the last couple of months, I've been using the phone browser more, and and like you, I still use the computer a lot, but I've become more comfortable with it, but it's taken time. Um, and often it was because it would be things like there'd be a survey and I'd already be on my phone. So I'd go, and that's kind of how I started doing it. And there'd be check boxes and things to check and stuff. And then I just started going into other things because that's where I was. But you're right, the computer's a lot probably easier in many ways.
I don't know if it, well, I think it's easier, but I think it's also a function of what you said of being familiar with it, you know. And perhaps I just haven't spent as much time, but I'm willing to give it a good try. I'm just, if things come out a little more confused next week, and at some point we say, let's just pull the plug on this and have a general question and answer, I'm okay with that too, because I'm learning in some ways maybe different things than you guys, but I'm learning just preparing some of this stuff also. So it's an interesting thing.
Well, yeah, and I like your idea of talking about the most accessible apps that, for a particular uh, job. because that's useful too. When people are going to try and do something, they have an idea of what they might want to use. So, I mean,
Right.
that's an option too.
Okay. Um,
I have one question. It's a Google question, and it's so I think it's related to this. When I first set up Google, I I had two Gmail accounts. And so I thought I had to set up two Google accounts, which has caused me great problems. Can you have more than one mail account in under one Google account?
I
Does that
don't
make
know.
sense? Oh, okay.
I would have to do some research on that.
Okay. Because I'm afraid to delete one and I've got stuff mixed up. So Google doesn't like it either because of some of my stuff in one and some in the other. So I wanted to delete one, but I don't want to lose the account, the Gmail account.
Excuse
So,
me, I can answer that because I have two uh, Gmail accounts, or I did have on the same account. So yeah, I
okay.
do. You can have as many as you want. You just have to sign into the one you're using.
Uh, but I don't know if that means that you actually have, in order to sign into that account, if you're actually having two Google accounts. But I
You
think
are. You are.
without,
You
yeah,
yes, you
yeah,
are.
I think
that's what
Because
I
I'm
I
think
have
thinking.
I have I have a few Google accounts and I can flip them, I can switch them, but they are
Yep,
separate and each one of them has its own Gmail address and settings and yeah.
Drive.
Yes, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Drive and Chrome bookmarks and all, which is really annoying. That's the most annoying is when you realize that you saved something under one Google account and then you need it when you're in another and you don't have it. So, yeah.
Hmm.
I
But
discovered yesterday, which was really nice, that if I went into, because I was using Chrome on my phone, and I went into the Chrome on my computer, and it had saved all of the tabs and things that I had gone into on my phone there as well, which was actually kind of handy.
Right. And
the o-
that's a function that you're logged into the same Google account on both
yeah.
devices.
Yes,
And the
yeah,
and the problem with that is if you don't want your password manager to work on one of those devices, but you want it to work on the other.
yeah,
That is where the problem starts and ends. Um, yeah.
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, thank you very much, Glenn. I think this has been a very informative session, and we are looking forward to having you come back again next week to see what we see with Android.
Thank you for checking out our content. To learn more about the Alliance for Equality of Blind Canadians, please visit www.blindcanadians.ca. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe.